On the surface, timeshares appear to be great deals. You get to spend a week or two at your dream destination for the rest of your life. But what happens when you decide that you no longer want to be a part of the timeshare, or even worse, you can't afford it? Well, it's then that you realize that the contract that you signed is more like the blood oath into the mafia family than the dream that you wanted it to be. Let's talk about timeshares. Welcome back to Straight to the Point. I am Greg Jackson, self-proclaimed attorney extraordinaire, a co-host on the weekly radio talk show program Let's Talk About It, and a general in the Let's Talk Nation. Hey, listen, as always, this channel is about educating, entertaining, and empowering viewers by providing insight on commonly asked legal questions, and oftentimes I also address some non-legal questions. But today I want to talk to you all about timeshares and what's taking place with that industry and has been taking place for quite a long time. As a former assistant attorney general for the state of Florida, I had my dealings with the timeshare industry. And I'll also tell you that as an individual, I one time was held captive for 5 hours in a timeshare presentation that I narrowly escaped unscathed and thankfully without becoming a member of a timeshare. I've heard that 85% of timeshare owners are pleased with their timeshares, and that's awesome. But 15% of owners wish they never heard the word timeshare. And that's because once they sign the contract, they realize that if they get tired of the timeshare or they can't afford it, it's virtually impossible for them to exit that contract. And that's my biggest issue or concern with timeshare agreements. Is that not only the individual who has signed the agreement, but oftentimes their heirs or their children are saddled with the obligation of paying fees. And that makes timeshares for life. So I already hear the question, well, Greg, how are they able to make a timeshare a lifetime arrangement? Well, in most timeshare agreements, there's a clause known as a perpetuity clause. And with that perpetuity clause, it says that the individual who signs the contract is obligated to pay the fees associated with the timeshare for the remainder of their life. In addition, once the person dies, then the timeshare becomes a part of the estate, meaning that the persons who are part of the estate are now responsible for paying those same fees that are associated with the timeshare. So that means that if someone that you know puts you down as an heir or as a beneficiary to their timeshare, thinking that they're doing you a favor, they've actually just made you responsible in the future for fees associated with the timeshare, whether you like it or not. Even though perpetuity clauses are widely considered to be unlawful, many times timeshare companies will make your life a living purgatory if you try to get out of that contract. What they'll do is they will tell you that in order to exit the contract, you have to pay an exorbitant amount of fees. Or they'll tell you that straight out, there's no way that they're going to let you out of the contract and that your family members or heirs or children will have to pay those fees for you. It's because of these unscrupulous practices within the timeshare industry that many people become frustrated with the process. And sometimes they just let their timeshares go into default, meaning that it's placed on their credit, or it becomes an expensive process because they have to hire an attorney to help them to get out of these contracts. And even at that, if they get out of the contracts, they've already taken a tremendous loss in either having to pay upfront fees or maintenance fees, as well as the depreciation of their timeshare. Now, if after hearing all of this, you still want to take the plunge into timeshares, be my guest, but let me give you a few things to think about. Number one, don't buy a timeshare impulsively. One of the biggest mistakes or causes of remorse in purchasing a timeshare is that the individual did not think through all of the details in having a timeshare. And that's because a lot of times the salesperson is there pressuring you, giving you incentives to sign now. Big mistake. What you want to do is you want to take some time out, take a couple of days, talk through it with some friends, possibly even talk to an attorney about the timeshare. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to enter into a commitment that you don't fully understand. Number two, understand the costs associated with owning a timeshare. Remember, there's initial purchase fees as well as annual maintenance fees that have to be paid when you own a timeshare. The initial purchase fee for a timeshare is approximately $22,000. In addition, the annual maintenance fee is about $1,000 per year, and that amount can go up depending on if repairs are needed for your timeshare. So if you have a timeshare, also remember that if you don't go or use your weeks or your time, that you still have to pay that annual maintenance fee. You have to take into account these fees to know exactly what you're going to be paying over the lifetime of your contract. Number 3, know your vacation budget. Many times when individuals are looking to purchase a timeshare, they don't take into account the travel costs to get to their timeshare. Are you going to get there by plane? Are you going to have to rent a car once you get there? What about the entertainment cost? Many times if you look at other alternatives such as resorts or Airbnbs or similar accommodations, you'll find that you will spend far less money taking that route than to purchase a timeshare. In addition to that, you also want to take a look at the location. Yeah, it may be great to go to the same location for 1, 2, possibly 3 years, but 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, are you still going to enjoy that mountain location or that beach location in the same way that you did in years 1, 2, and 3? These are things that you have to take into consideration when you are wanting to purchase a timeshare. Next, you must realize that timeshares are not real estate investments. In fact, timeshares are more like purchasing a vehicle in that when you sign the contract, the value of that timeshare begins to plummet. I'd also be very surprised if a bank will lend you any money to purchase or for the purchase fee of a timeshare. And if you have to borrow money for a timeshare from a bank or anyone else, it's not going to be a very good investment. Because remember again, it's very difficult to get out of a timeshare as well as to sell a timeshare. Lastly, you're going to want to understand the difficulty in selling or reselling your timeshare. And that's because of depreciation that occurs the moment you sign the contract. There may be an opportunity to sell it back to the original company, but that's very rare. And so you'll be left with trying to sell that timeshare or going with a resale company. But there's some scams and frauds that you need to be aware of. For instance, if someone contacts you and tells you that they have someone that wants to purchase your timeshare, and all you have to do is pay an upfront fee for them to place it on their website, don't do it. If you have questions about timeshares or any other topics, just shoot me a comment below. And if you found this video to be helpful or beneficial, please hit that like and subscribe button. But until next time, I am Greg Jackson, self-proclaimed attorney extraordinaire, a co-host on the weekly radio talk show program, Let's Talk About It, and of course a general in the Let's Talk Nation. Until next time, be good.